Hey guys, welcome back again to Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy, where the proof is in the singing. I'm continuing my series on how to sing like, and next up is the voice of rock, Mr. Glenn Hughes. Before we get started, if you wouldn't mind, please liking and subscribing to my channel. That'd be super cool. Don't forget to ring the bell so I can keep new cool videos coming your way. And I have a singing course, and the course is called How to Sing Better Than Anyone Else. You can find it right here at kentamplinvocalacademy.com, where I also have a free singing forum for you guys interested in learning how to sing, for you guys that are intermediate singers, or all the way to the most advanced levels like Glenn. Now, we're going to discover what makes Glenn great in order to hopefully help make you great. And it's a privilege and an honor because Glenn is one of my greatest greatest influences as a rock singer. So I'm just going to get started and comment along the way. I want to start with Gabriella, one of my students, because she was a big Glenn Hughes fan also, and we decided to do Mistreated. Now, we took this up a full step, so it's a little higher than the original to accommodate a female vocal, but I do want to point out, now I know there's some interchange between Glenn and David Coverdale and whatnot. I'm focusing on Glenn today, though I know there's some Coverdale aspects to this, but we're going to stay tuned on Glenn and go from there. Here we go. So now, time is late, I don't understand, past midnight I still see land, right? He's got just the most unique belting rock voice and can still kill it to this day, which is awesome. Coverdale, not so much. Coverdale's kind of had some vocal trouble over the years, and Glenn has maintained his voice. Now, Glenn often uses a raised laryngeal position and distorts his sound. But when he goes high, he doesn't, and he has some theatrics along the way. So, can you say, I don't understand? It's kind of like a Dio, Ronnie James Dio approach, where we've got this big open throat technique. Now, I know I talk about this a lot, you guys, but it's really important to understand what this means. Now, I cover this explicitly and thoroughly and comprehensively in my singing course, How to Sing Better Than Anyone Else, where we must build open throat technique and muscle structure first before we start adding distortion, before we start manipulating the throat, before we start belting into the sound. We've got to get really good diaphragmatic support to strengthen and hold up the sound. Now, let me give you an example of what it would sound like if I didn't have the strength in my stomach. God is saying, I don't understand, past midnight, I still see the land, right? I'd be straining like a maniac, and so you guys, that's me, that's what I sound like. I strain, I can't get to those notes. How do I do that? I'm telling you how to do it. We start with the, hey, we got to get the abdominal cavity really strong to be the engine that drives our car to do all of our work for us. And then we have to build good open throat muscles, tones and texture, but strength in the throat to hold the throat open in order to be able for these sounds to come out in a non-constricted kind of way. Now, Gabriella actually, we took it up a notch beyond what Glenn had done, even in the recordings and even what Glenn does now. Glenn switches a lot where he doesn't sing a belted up register like C's, B4s, C5s, D5s, in there. He doesn't really do that so much. He'll flip into and just kind of like a belted head voice kind of thing, which there's a lot of range to that, but it's not the same as what I'm about to show you with Gabriella. Check this out.
I didn't believe she was ever small. She said, 'cause you won't, you'll never learn. When I leave, there's no return to people alive till she said burn. One care, no one care. Ever shaking, we should have said. Hey, no one can. Hey,
right? All those open vowel sounds. Now, the only time we usually close down the sound with like a deep purple sound, Laya! You know, he does like kind of, you know, those kinds of sounds. He'll do that too for effect. It's fun, right? Some of the rock guys, like I said, Grand Funk and other bands did that back in the 70s. So it was a kind of a fun theatrical sort of approach to rock singing. But notice her vowels. They almost sound like they're all the same vowel with very little shifting in the vowels. Check it out.
When it came, no space till I hear.
Now, when we get to this bridge, check this out. Watch, it's coming up in a minute. Now, by the way, too, from a vibrato standpoint, we over-exaggerate the vibrato a little bit, like Uriah Heep, for example. Easy living. Remember Uriah Heep? Am I been forgiven? Right? That real wide vibrato. And again, we love Bruce Dickinson too, so you know we use a lot of that. That's not necessarily a natural sound, but it's fun because it's big and really dramatic, right? So we use this here too, not as a natural vibrato, but for effect. Okay, so. Let me get past the solo here. Here we go.
The woman is dead. She makes you burn with her way. One care, no one care. Earth was shaking when said it said. When it came, no space till I hear.
Cool. Okay, so that's a good example of what that kind of looks like, right? Burn is a great example, and again, here you had Coverdale and Glenn Hughes in the same band. How killer is that? One of my favorite songs, and again, there's an old, I think it's Cal Jam 1 or 2 version of this, where David Coverdale does a live version. The song is Mistreated. On the record, I know they go back and forth and they've done different live things, but they both did an extraordinary job in this. But I'm going to use Glenn Hughes's version, the way I sang it, a little more on the Glenn Hughes side of Mistreated. It goes like this. I've been mistreated. I'm heaving up my vowels. I've been mistreated. It's kind of like if Ronnie James Dio, Glenn Hughes, Coverdale all come in. Now, if you listen to Coverdale's version, for you guys that are in the know and care about this stuff, he's really short phrase. I've been mistreated. I've been abused. Hey. He's very, very short phrased on it. Glenn's not. Glenn is all in when he's in the song. That's why I chose to do the Glenn Hughes version of this as we're going. So check it out. And again, open throat technique. Notice how big and round my vowel sounds are as I'm going through this. I've been struck down hard, baby. I've been confused. 'Cause I know, yes I know, I've been mistreated. Okay, now, I can't emphasize this enough, guys. We're doing how to sing like so-and-so. I still sound like Ken Tamplin. I have influences of Coverdale. I have influences of Dio. I have influences of Glenn Hughes because I'm taking on more the persona of his style of singing. But I still sound like me. Now, I'm not doing how to sing like, and just give you a little tip, or how to start to sing like someone, or whatever this is. I'm actually showing you how to do it, and I cover this explicitly explicitly in my singing course. Everything from the vibratos, everything from the distorted tones, everything from the strength that's required in the diaphragm. It's one thing to go, I've been mistreated, and be real constricted in the sound, right? And a lot of people take that approach where they pinch and squeeze and think that that's how this sound, how you get the sound. It is not. You have to learn good muscle structure of open throat. Watch this. Hey, hey, I've been abused, right? So we start with, and notice too, like I'm not all tired, right? And I've been singing for hours, by the way. I'm doing a bunch of these back to back. And I'm singing, Michael Jackson 1 minute, I'm singing Coverdale or Glenn Hughes the next. Then I just did a vocal reaction to, or not reaction, but how to sing like Whitney Houston. 1 minute I'm doing Whitney Houston, then I'm doing, Glenn Hughes. Next one I'm gonna do, who knows? Like I think Celine Dion is my next one. But so I'm going in and out of these vocal different styles and timbres and textures and tones because the technique I use allows me the privilege to do that. So let's continue because I want to talk more about the shifting of the vowels themselves. Since my baby left me, I've been losing my mind. I know I've taught you this before, where I've said all vowel sounds come from it's the la, ah, except E and O. And I'm going to give you an example of this. I've been lonely, right? All my vowels shift ever so slightly off of that vowel sound. So I'm not making big jumps from one vowel to the next. The exception is, hey, is when I go to A-E, right? Or oo. I use an O position to get to oo. Now, we have to strengthen this in different ways, or we have to use different vowel sounds in different ranges that we do this in, because it's not one size fits all. Oh, I always go O, oo, or oh, I always go E. No, we train as we go up and down our ranges how these seat in the throat differently, and how A goes, as we go higher, we close it more down to AE8 at the top, or as we're in our mid voice, it's more like singing the word lay instead of E. And as we're on the bottom, Ken, you're confusing me. Well, let me make it a little more simple. I'll use an E vowel, for example. If I'm on the bottom, I can go E and be more pointed in the sound. E. If I'm up in my mid voice, I'm gonna have to sing A with E in it. E. I'm not going E. I'm not pinching and squeezing. As I go higher, that A, right? It's gonna close down on me and I can't get to it because it's too wide. It's pharyngally spread. It's too big. So I have to sing the word 8. Hey, and I've got to close the sound down. Now, at different spectrums or different ranges in the voice, we learn how all these different vowel sounds themselves, we memorize different positions of the vowels in order to maintain good open throat technique, and this is certainly no exception. So I'll put all this in the description so you can check these out and see how we did. Listen to Glenn Hughes and check out some of the David Coverdale stuff and whatnot. And I'm doing most of this by request, guys, so if you have a request, if something you want me to do, how to sing like, bring it on and check out my next video.